Commander Zara Harrison stood at her station aboard the USS Soundkeeper, her fingers hovering over the advanced acoustic monitoring array. The deep space surveillance vessel had been her home for the past 3 years, and its sophisticated sound detection equipment had become an extension of her senses. But nothing in her 15 years as a naval acoustics specialist had prepared her for what she was hearing now. "Captain Reeves," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm picking up something unusual in Sector 7. Captain Diana Reeves crossed the bridge with measured steps, her salt and pepper hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Define unusual, Commander." "It's harmonic, sir. Unlike anything we've recorded before. The frequency patterns are too regular to be natural, but they don't match any known artificial sources either." Zara adjusted her headphones, fine-tuning the incoming signal. "It's almost like music." The captain leaned over the console, studying the waveform display. The pattern pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, its frequencies shifting in ways that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Could it be some kind of encrypted communication? "Negative, sir. This is something entirely different." Zara's fingers flew across the touchscreen, isolating specific frequency bands. "See these overlapping patterns? They're creating interference patterns that shouldn't be possible in vacuum. It's as if someone's found a way to manipulate the fabric of space itself using sound." The bridge fell silent as the crew processed the implications. Humanity had been searching for signs of intelligent life for centuries, but no one had expected first contact to come through sound waves. "Play it," Captain Reeves ordered. Zara hesitated. "Sir, the frequencies are complex. I'll need to transpose them into our hearing range." "Do it." The sound that filled the bridge sent shivers down every spine present. It was beautiful and terrifying at once, a chorus of alien harmonies that seemed to resonate with the human body on a cellular level. Several crew members grabbed their chairs for support as the sound created a subtle sense of vertigo. "Enough," the captain commanded, and Zara cut the playback. "Get me fleet command. Priority 1." Within hours, the Soundkeeper's discovery had sparked a global response. The world's leading acoustics experts, musicians, and physicists were called in to study the signal. Among them was Dr. Raj Patel, whose groundbreaking work on quantum harmonics had revolutionized our understanding of sound. "The signal isn't just communication," Dr. Patel explained during the emergency conference. "It's a technology we don't understand yet. These beings, whoever they are, have found a way to use harmonic resonance to affect physical reality." Zara spent the next weeks working closely with Dr. Patel, analyzing every nuance of the alien transmission. They discovered patterns within patterns, layers of meaning encoded in the very structure of the harmonies. But it wasn't until Zara's younger brother Marcus, a professional violinist, visited the ship that they had their breakthrough. Marcus was playing his violin in the ship's recreation room when Zara noticed something on her monitors. The alien frequencies were changing, responding to the music. "They can hear us," she whispered, watching the patterns shift and dance. "They've been listening all along." The discovery sparked a new approach. Instead of trying to decode their message, Earth would respond with its own symphony. Musicians from every culture were brought together, their performances broadcast into space using modified arrays that could project sound waves through the vacuum. The response came 3 days later. A massive object appeared at the edge of the solar system, its surface covered in structures that looked like enormous tuning forks. As it approached, it began to emit a new frequency, one that translated itself directly into human minds as words. "At last, you sing back to us. We are the Meridians, and we have waited long for a species that could hear the music of the spheres." But even as humanity celebrated this peaceful first contact, Zara noticed something troubling in the background harmonies. Hidden beneath the Meridian's greeting was another sound, a discordant warning of approaching danger. Something else had heard Earth's reply, something that viewed humanity's newfound harmonic abilities not as a cause for celebration, but as a threat to be eliminated. The Vox Collective was coming, and they would not arrive with songs of peace. "Captain," Zara reported, her voice grave as she analyzed the warning harmonies, "we need to prepare. What we've discovered, it's not just a means of communication. It's a weapon. And we're about to be drawn into a war where the battlefield is sound itself." Captain Reeves nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what was coming. "Then we'd better start composing our battle symphony, Commander. Humanity's voice is about to join a cosmic chorus, whether we're ready or not." As Zara looked out at the stars, she could almost hear it, the approaching storm of sound that would either elevate humanity to new heights or reduce Earth to silent ruins. The real question was, what song would humanity choose to sing when the time came? The warning came too late. 3 weeks after the Meridian's message, the Vox Collective arrived, a fleet of crystalline ships that hummed with deadly resonance. Their first attack didn't come with explosions or energy weapons, but with a sound that shattered every window in Shanghai. Commander Zara Harrison watched the footage from the USS Soundkeeper's bridge, her hands clenched into fists. The attack had lasted just 7 seconds, but the damage was catastrophic. The Vox Collective's sonic weapon had targeted the resonant frequency of glass, turning skyscrapers into deadly showers of crystalline shards. "They're testing us," Dr. Raj Patel said, his eyes fixed on the display. "Learning our vulnerabilities. Then let's show them our strengths." Zara turned to Captain Reeves. "Permission to implement Project Harmony?" The captain nodded grimly. "Do it." Project Harmony had been Zara's brainchild, developed in the frantic weeks following the Meridian's warning. Working with her brother Marcus and a team of musicians, she had discovered something extraordinary: human music could affect alien physiology in unexpected ways. The Soundkeeper's cargo bay had been converted into what the crew called the orchestra pit, a massive array of instruments modified with quantum resonators. Marcus stood at its center, violin in hand, surrounded by a diverse group of musicians from around the world. "The Vox ships are approaching Hawaii," Zara announced over the intercom. "We have one chance to test this. Everyone ready?" The musicians nodded, raising their instruments. This wasn't just a performance, it was humanity's first sonic counterattack. Marcus drew his bow across the strings, beginning a piece they had composed specifically for this moment. It started soft, almost gentle, but built in complexity as other instruments joined in. The quantum resonators amplified the sound, transforming it into something more than music, a weapon tuned to the exact frequency that the Meridians had warned would affect Vox biology. On the tactical display, they watched as the wave of sound reached the approaching Vox ships. The effect was immediate. The crystalline vessels shuddered, their harmonic engines faltering as the human music disrupted their resonance patterns. "It's working!" Zara exclaimed, but her celebration was premature. The Vox ships began to emit their own counter-frequency, a sound so profound it made the Soundkeeper's hull groan. Emergency klaxons blared as hairline cracks appeared in the viewports. "Marcus, shift to movement 4. Zara commanded. The orchestra smoothly transitioned into a different piece, this one based on ancient throat-singing techniques. The deep, multitonal sounds created interference patterns that neutralized the Vox attack. "Fascinating," Dr. Patel muttered, studying the readings. "The harmonics of human music, they're more complex than anything the Vox can generate. Their sound technology is more advanced, but our music contains elements they can't replicate." The battle continued for hours, becoming a strange duet between human orchestra and alien technology. When classical music proved ineffective, they switched to jazz, its improvisational nature making it harder for the Vox to counter. When the Vox adapted to that, they tried heavy metal, its aggressive frequencies causing visible distress in the alien ships. But they were only holding their own, not winning. The Vox fleet was too large, their technology too powerful. For every ship they forced to retreat, 2 more took its place. "We need something bigger," Zara said, poring over the combat data. "A way to project our sound globally." That's when Lieutenant James Wong, the ship's communications officer, spoke up. "What about the Earth itself?" All eyes turned to him. "Think about it," he continued, growing animated. "The planet's core, the tectonic plates, Earth is already a giant resonance chamber. If we could find a way to use that." Zara's eyes widened as she understood. "We could turn the entire planet into an instrument." Dr. Patel was already running calculations. "It's possible. Risky, but possible. We'd need to place sonic transmitters at specific points along the Earth's fault lines, use the planet's natural harmonics to amplify our signal." "And if we get it wrong?" Captain Reeves asked. "We could trigger earthquakes worldwide," Patel admitted. "Maybe worse." Zara looked at the tactical display, where more Vox ships were appearing every hour. "Do we have a choice?" The captain was silent for a long moment. "How long to implement?" 72 hours to place the transmitters, Wong said. "Maybe less with global cooperation. And we need a composition powerful enough to utilize the full potential of planetary resonance," Marcus added. "Something that combines every musical tradition Earth has to offer." Captain Reeves straightened her uniform. "Make it 48 hours. Commander Harrison, coordinate with global military commands for transmitter placement. Dr. Patel, work with Marcus on the composition. The rest of you, prepare for emergency protocols. We're about to turn Earth into the biggest speaker system in history." As the crew rushed to their tasks, Zara caught a glimpse of the Vox fleet through a viewport. Their ship sparkled like deadly wind chimes in the sunlight, beautiful and terrible. In less than 48 hours, humanity would either create the greatest concert in history or trigger its own destruction. The Earth itself would sing, and the galaxy would have no choice but to listen. The next 48 hours transformed Earth into a global concert hall. Military vessels raced to position sonic transmitters along fault lines while musicians from every continent collaborated on what they called the Earth Song. The Vox Collective continued their sonic assault, but now they seemed curious, holding back as if waiting to see what humanity would attempt. Commander Zara Harrison hadn't slept in 36 hours. She stood in the USS Soundkeeper's newly established Global Harmony Control, surrounded by holographic displays showing transmitter placements worldwide. "Pacific Rim transmitters online," Lieutenant Wong reported. "Ring of Fire is ready." "Mid-Atlantic Ridge responding," another officer called out. "Resonance patterns stable." Dr. Patel burst into the room, his usually neat appearance disheveled. "We have a problem. The simulations show we can't risk using all the transmitters simultaneously. The harmonics would tear the planet apart." "Then we adapt," Zara said firmly. "What about sequencing them? Like sections in an orchestra?" A new voice joined the conversation. "We already have." Marcus entered, carrying a tablet filled with musical notation. Behind him walked representatives from various musical traditions, a West African griot, a Mongolian throat singer, an Indian sitar master, and others. "We've composed something unique," Marcus explained. "A piece that uses the planet's natural rhythms. The transmitters will activate in waves, following the Earth's rotation. Each musical tradition takes the lead when the resonance wave reaches their region." Zara studied the composition. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen, a fusion of ancient rhythms and modern harmonics, designed to build into a global crescendo. "How long until the Vox realize what we're doing?" Captain Reeves asked. "They already know," a melodic voice answered. A Meridian observer, their form shifting like a living sound wave, stepped forward. They had been providing crucial intelligence about Vox weaknesses. "But they underestimate you. They cannot conceive of music as anything but a weapon. Then let's show them what Earth's symphony can do, Zara said. All stations, prepare for Operation Global Harmony. The countdown began. In orchestral pits, concert halls, and sacred spaces worldwide, musicians took their positions. The Soundkeeper's crew watched as the first transmitter array activated in the Pacific. It started with the deep, resonant tones of Polynesian drums, their rhythms matching the pulse of the ocean itself. As the Earth rotated, Australian Aboriginal didgeridoos joined in, their ancient drone carrying harmonics that made the Vox ships vibrate uncomfortably. The wave of music swept westward. Chinese guzheng and Japanese taiko drums added layers of complexity. Indian sitars and Persian santars wove melodic patterns that seemed to dance between the stars. African drums brought polyrhythms that disrupted Vox targeting systems. When the wave reached Europe, cathedral organs and symphony orchestras added their voice to the growing composition. Across the Atlantic, Native American flutes and drums joined the planetary chorus. The Vox fleet responded with increasing desperation, their sonic attacks growing more erratic. But they couldn't match the complexity of Earth's song, a symphony written by an entire planet. In the Soundkeeper's orchestra pit, Marcus raised his violin. This was the crucial moment. As the wave of music completed its circuit of the globe, all Earth's musicians would play together, their combined frequencies channeled through the planetary transmitter network. Energy buildup in the Vox fleet, Wong reported. They're preparing something big. Let them, Zara said, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. We have something bigger. The Vox attack came just as Marcus drew his bow across the strings. A wall of sound that could shatter mountains struck Earth's atmosphere, and met the combined musical heritage of an entire planet rising to meet it. The collision of frequencies created aurora-like patterns in the sky, visible from every continent. The Vox harmonics, for all their technological sophistication, couldn't overcome the sheer complexity and emotion of human music. Their crystalline ships began to resonate at dangerous frequencies, fracture lines appearing in their hulls. The Meridian observers' form pulsed with excitement. It's working. Their harmonic engines are destabilizing. But victory came with a price. Seismic monitors worldwide reported growing instability. The Earth itself was groaning under the strain of channeling so much sonic energy. We need to end this now, Dr. Patel warned. The planetary harmonics are becoming chaotic. Zara looked at her brother. Marcus? He nodded, understanding. The final movement of their composition wasn't meant to destroy, it was an offering of peace, a demonstration that human music could create as well as destroy. As the Vox fleet retreated in disarray, Earth's musicians transitioned into a harmony so profound it brought tears to eyes worldwide. The seismic disturbances settled as the planet's resonance aligned with the music. The Meridian observers' form shimmered with joy. Now they understand. Your species doesn't just use sound, you transform it into something greater. The Vox cannot comprehend art that serves no tactical purpose. Watching the last Vox ships flee, Zara realized humanity had done more than win a battle. They had proven that their greatest weapon wasn't technology or force, but creativity itself. Should we power down the transmitter network? Lieutenant Wong asked. No, Captain Reeves said thoughtfully. I think Earth has found its voice. Let's keep singing. As the global symphony continued, its harmonies now peaceful, Zara knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had joined the cosmic chorus, and their song would echo through the stars forever. The victory celebration lasted exactly 3 days before the Vox Collective revealed their true cunning. They hadn't retreated in defeat, they'd withdrawn to adapt. When they returned, their ships now pulsed with a new kind of resonance, one that turned humanity's own harmonics against them. Commander Zara Harrison stood in the ruins of Sydney's Opera House, its iconic shells shattered by frequencies specifically tuned to counter Earth's global symphony. Similar reports came in from cultural centers worldwide, concert halls reduced to rubble, ancient instruments vibrated to dust. "They're not just attacking our defenses," she told the emergency council over holographic link. "They're trying to silence our music itself." The Meridian observer, who had taken the name Echo, rippled with concern. The Vox are known for this strategy. They study their opponent's weapons and transform them into weaknesses. Dr. Patel's hologram nodded grimly. "Our planetary transmitter network is useless now. They've mapped every frequency we used and developed countermeasures. We need something new." "Not new," Marcus interrupted, his violin case clutched tightly under his arm. "Something old. Something they can't predict because it follows no mathematical pattern." Zara understood immediately. Folk music. The songs that existed before we understood the science of sound. The next hours were a blur of activity. While the Vox fleet held position just beyond lunar orbit, Earth mobilized in an unexpected way. The call went out not to military bases or research centers, but to villages, tribes, and remote communities worldwide. In the mountains of Peru, elderly quina players shared melodies passed down through generations. Deep in the Congolese rainforest, pygmy tribes demonstrated polyphonic techniques that defied Western musical theory. Mongolian herders gathered to perform ancient songs that seemed to draw power from the wind itself. The USS Soundkeeper became a floating ethnomusicology center. Its cargo holds filled with instruments the Vox computers couldn't categorize: Australian bullroarers, Alpine alphorns, Vietnamese dan boss, and countless others. "Look at these waveforms," Dr. Patel said excitedly, analyzing a recording of Aboriginal song lines. "They're mathematically chaotic, yet culturally coherent. The Vox can't counter what they can't quantify." But they needed more than just ancient songs. They needed a way to combine these traditions into something the Vox couldn't adapt to, couldn't predict. The answer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Wong discovered that certain indigenous music traditions contained what he called quantum resonance patterns, harmonics that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, like Schrödinger's cat expressed in sound. "It's not just music," he explained, pointing to his analysis. "These songs were mapping quantum states long before we had the science to understand them. They're not just random or chaotic, they're operating on principles we're only beginning to grasp." The Vox struck again while Earth prepared, their counter-frequencies shattering the planetary transmitter network. But this time, humanity was ready with something different. In thousands of locations worldwide, small groups began performing their traditional music simultaneously. No technology, no amplification, just human voices and ancient instruments. The Soundkeeper's sensors recorded something remarkable. These seemingly simple performances were creating quantum interference patterns in spacetime itself. The Vox ship's advanced sensors couldn't track the effects. Their attempts to counter the frequencies failed because the music existed in multiple quantum states at once. It was like trying to shoot down a target that was everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. "We need to take this further," Zara announced. "Not just combining Earth's music, but transcending it entirely." Marcus stepped forward with a modified violin. Its strings were made of a meridian alloy that resonated across quantum dimensions. "I've been working with Echo. What if we could perform in multiple realities at once?" The idea was audacious: create music that existed simultaneously in various quantum states, a symphony that was literally universal. The Vox wouldn't be able to counter it because it would be happening across multiple dimensions of reality. As the Vox fleet approached Earth once more, humanity prepared for their most ambitious performance yet. The Soundkeeper's orchestra pit became a nexus of quantum harmonics, where musicians from every tradition gathered to perform something unprecedented. The air crackled with possibility as Marcus raised his quantum violin. Around him, musicians readied instruments both ancient and hybridized with meridian technology. They weren't just going to play music, they were about to reach across the boundaries of reality itself. Zara watched from the bridge, her hand hovering over the quantum resonance initiator. The Vox ships loomed closer, their counter-frequencies building to what they thought would be a killing blow. They had no idea that humanity was about to change the rules of reality itself, one note at a time. "Begin Operation Quantum Chorus," she commanded, and the universe held its breath for what came next. Operation Quantum Chorus began not with a bang, but with silence, a moment of perfect stillness before reality itself began to sing. Commander Zara Harrison watched as Marcus drew his bow across the quantum violin strings. The note that emerged existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating ripples across the fabric of spacetime. Around him, musicians from every corner of Earth added their voices to the quantum symphony. The Vox fleet's approach suddenly faltered. Their sensors, designed to detect and counter conventional frequencies, were overwhelmed by music that existed in several quantum states at once. "They're trying to adapt," Echo observed, their meridian form flickering through multiple harmonics. "But they cannot comprehend music that defies their mathematical models." Ancient drums pounded rhythms that echoed through parallel realities. Aboriginal didgeridoos droned across quantum dimensions. Tibetan singing bowls created frequencies that existed in superposition. Each instrument, each voice, each note was both here and elsewhere, now and then, reality and possibility merged into pure sound. Dr. Patel's instruments registered the impossible. The quantum harmonics are creating stable bridges between dimensional states. "We're not just making music, we're rewriting the laws of physics." The Vox Collective's response was immediate and devastating. Their ships began emitting a frequency designed to collapse the quantum wave functions, forcing the music into a single state they could counter. Reality shuddered as multiple timelines tried to resolve themselves. "They're trying to force our quantum chorus into classical physics," Wong shouted over the dimensional turbulence. "If they succeed..." "They won't," Zara interrupted. "Because they've forgotten one crucial thing about human music." She grabbed the ship's comm system. "All performers, release the structure. Let chaos reign." Marcus understood immediately. The carefully composed quantum symphony dissolved into pure improvisation. Jazz musicians riffed across dimensions. Rock guitarists shredded through reality. Folk singers wove tales that existed in all possible states until observed. The Vox computers, trying to predict and counter the music, crashed under the weight of infinite possibilities. Their ships began to resonate with frequencies they couldn't control, couldn't understand, couldn't exist within. But victory wasn't what Zara sought. As the Vox fleet destabilized, she activated a new frequency, one that Echo had helped them discover. "Time for the final movement," she announced. The quantum chaos resolved into something new, a harmony that transcended not just dimensions, but understanding itself. It was music that spoke directly to consciousness, bypassing physical laws to touch something deeper. The effect on the Vox was immediate. Their ship stopped attacking, hanging motionless in space as the sound reached past their defenses to touch the beings within. For the first time, humanity heard the Vox themselves, not their weapons or their technology, but their true voice. It was a song of fear. Fear of the unknown, of that which couldn't be controlled or predicted. Fear that had driven them to attack what they couldn't understand. Humanity's response was instinctive and unanimous. The quantum chorus shifted, embracing the Vox melody, weaving it into something greater. Not a weapon, not a defense, but a conversation conducted in the language of pure music. Reality stabilized as dimensions realigned. The quantum bridges remained, but now they carried understanding instead of conflict. The Vox ship's crystalline structures began to pulse in rhythm with Earth's song, not to attack, but to join the chorus. "They're singing with us," Marcus whispered, his quantum violin now playing a duet across dimensions with a Vox harmonist. Echo's form stabilized into a pure tone of joy. "This is what we hoped for when we first heard humanity's music. Not just sound, not just science, but but the ability to transform conflict into harmony. The next hours saw the beginning of a new era. The Vox Collective, their consciousness expanded by exposure to quantum music, offered not surrender but collaboration. Their crystalline ships, once weapons of war, became instruments in an interstellar orchestra. The planetary transmitter network was rebuilt, not for defense, but for celebration. Earth's position in the galaxy was secured not by force or fear, but by the power of its creative spirit. Months later, Zara stood in the newly constructed Galactic Conservatory of Quantum Music, watching species from across the cosmos learn to sing together across dimensions. Marcus was there, teaching a Vox crystalline being to play a quantum violin, while human students learned the alien art of crystalline harmonics. We should have known, she mused to Echo, who had stayed on Earth as a cultural ambassador. The most powerful force in the universe isn't violence or technology. It's the ability to create something new. Echo rippled in agreement. Your species taught the galaxy that true power lies not in destroying what we fear, but in transforming it into something beautiful. Above them, the quantum chorus continued, a never-ending symphony of possibilities playing across infinite dimensions. Humanity had found its voice in the cosmic concert, and the universe would never be silent again.